you guys, I am back and today we are doing a whole new segment. I will be reading my poetry and I've decided that because I have a lot of it up on my notes, prose, poems, random thoughts and whatnot on my notes app. Obviously, I can't just hop off, read from, I'm filming on my phone. Anyway, but I decided to throw one poem on a Google Docs and we'll see how it goes. Anyway, this poem, just to preface things, I think this is a perfect time to talk about this because I'm going through it right now. Whenever I PMS, I feel this insane surge of gratitude for humanity in a way that can only be like the perfect example for this feeling would be the movie Don't Look Up, because I think that gratitude is expressed, but in it through the expression of panic rather, because the world is ending and the world is ending, so you're coming to terms with that. And I feel this way nearly every month. It's funny because like sometimes I kind of look forward to PMSing because I experience these like cathartic epiphanies or revisit those epiphanies and am drawn to people more. It's not so much maternal necessarily, which is funny because I do write about poems that have that theme, but it's just something else. Like I remember one time I went to Universal alone and I took a boat ride to the Hard Rock Cafe because I just wanted to see what's up. Not the cafe, but the hotel. And coming back, there was this woman with like a piece of toast and she was ripping up the pieces. And this lady, she must have been in her 50s or 60s. And I was PMSing at the time. I saw her ripping up that bread. And for some reason, like just to see her hands, made me tear up. Like this like weird appreciation for people and the innocence of certain things that we do, things that are that are very mundane. And like my algorithm is very aligned with whatever stage I'm in through the cycle. So whenever I am PMSing, oh my god, like I'll get content of certain like histories and or like the ancestry of humans and like and just like how amazing is it that we as a people, as a species, have evolved. I think that's kind of cool. And just to live through all natural tribulations and to persevere and to and evolve, in that sense. So I think that's really cool. And also just kind of learning about history. It's interesting, when I was younger, that was my least favorite subject in school, but over time I've grown a liking to it and whatever. So yeah. Anyway, I will go ahead and read this poem and you will let me know what you think, if you can. I don't know. Okay. The profundity rooted in physiology being analogous to cosmic instances is a lot. Everything is a lot. It is a lot to fathom the nature of our DNA mimicking the universal skies, that conscious collective is a better way to describe collective effervescence, that we are one even by existing as individuals, and that the animal I look into sees me as a variation of its breed. That motherhood is so much more than milk and ferberizing, symmetry, entropy, the entire existence can be reduced to numerical pattern, that we are all saying the same thing, that the naked eye is never enough, that history is more than just for the literate, as it is inevitably reoccurring, and though unoriginal to note, black and white, night and day, good and evil must be considered, but also that anti-heroes give far better performances. We've tasted loss of everything we live for, and time is a concept meant to be pierced, that we will consume because what else is hunger for? At least that's what we've been told. That there will always be an us versus them. There will always be a God and fabricated scriptures and plenty of truth to justify them. And we are all experiencing strange occurrences analogous to miracle, be it the interventions that materialize virtually from nowhere, right? But also be it the reactive spark when you realize you're in love with someone. or when you realize your parents are just people who are novices at being people just like yourself. That it didn't matter what degree you chose or didn't choose for that matter, it won't save you from the misery of never feeling important enough, never being known. Isn't that not what we all sing about? Hoping to be seen, if not by man, then by anything we can believe its existence in. That's why there's a whole aisle dedicated to organic dog food. That's why we humanize inanimates, animate everything, give voices we can't even use for ourselves. Fucking tax brackets and FICO scores, DMT, SpongeBob, extremism, and insecurity pandered, and esteem exploited. Yet flaws never being late on arrival as authenticators. There's always a way to make something of what's wrong, but never actually knowing the answer. And what with the derealization and the dissociation and the dissonance and the dying over and over again is the same species of sentience. How many times have we come across incense and the fucking rocks that cure angst and baptism by water or whisper or whatever the fuck? It's just how many times have we considered that you and I are joined by the hip, but even more so, we are one thing in constant revival. How is it that we've noted the DNA's mimicry to universal dust so many times that the conversation has become moronic? All of this to take seriously, to be dramatized in forever levels of la 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 la. All of this to take seriously, to be dramatized in forever levels of catharsis. And then I think about how no matter how much universe we hold within our temporal capacities, we all have to shit. What a turn off from it all. Okay. Anyway, yes, this is how I feel. Everything about this, the sheer awe I have for the existence of everything. Not to sound overtly profound or annoyingly righteous, it's just how I do feel, We as a collective have become so much and have started from so little. And to think that it is so beautiful, so symphonic, and all of it can just be reduced to the mere fact that we all have to take major fucking dumps. Like, that's just, it's so fucking, to me, I don't know. And I genuinely get turned off from everything when I do realize, and I like, look, I admit I shit, like, that's not what I'm saying. It's like, I'm not saying that, like, girls don't poop or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. It's just like, it's just the juxtaposition. Like, it's just, everything is so awe-inspiring. It's everything, and then the realization of taking these nasty fucking dumps, it's just, it really throws me off. But anyway, yes, that is one of the poems that I wanted to share with you. But apart from that, as I had mentioned, or I'm not sure if I did mention, but I do write a lot of the themes that I include are relevant to this subject, but also motherhood. And a lot of my poetry is not too familiar with the typical poem that has elaborate stanzas, and poems don't have to rhyme necessarily. I think when you're in the society of poets, or if you're familiar with it, you don't have to have your poems rhyme or anything. But I don't do slam poetry, and I'm not familiar with stanzas. I think I tend to write more prose. I'm totally cool with that. I think that is one of my favorite forms of writing, apart from screenwriting. Certainly prose is my go-to. It's just easy to kind of talk. And it's one of my favorite quotes. Shit, if I can remember. I wish I had access to my phone right now. But it was something about one's, I guess, it's not one's vernacular, really, and it's contingent on their upbringing. Something about how if you speak a certain way, oftentimes people who speak a certain way, with certain elaborate explanations or a certain vocabulary, it's usually a product of being alone. It's like being deracinated from a community, and therefore surviving on your own and learning how to communicate on behalf of really yourself and how you think and feel. When you're in a community, I think we, you know, being creatures of nature, we tend to mimic each other in terms of vocab and certain ways of communication. I mean, if you even take slang and even like even I guess like humor, you know, like that is relevant to the generation and the society we are brought up in. So someone who speaks a little uniquely is typically deracinated from their environment and has to kind of fend for themselves to communicate themselves, because communication is you know, like it's not just talk, it's not just direction, but rather you are truly just speaking on behalf of yourself to display who you are. And I think it is, words are a form of defense, and we are trying to communicate who we are to I guess maintain our necessity of community. And in doing so, we are also proving who we are too, proving that we are not, in a very uh, primitive sense, like we are not threats. We are meant to be part of someone else's life in a community sense again. So I love that quote a lot, and I wish I could find it. And if I do, I'll just kind of throw it on here on the video. But yeah, you know, I think I don't know why I'm saying this. I will say, you know, being an only child and moving around so much um did kind of alter the way I do talk. Um so that might have some effect, or I might be perceived some sort of way, which I'm fine with now. You know, I like the way I am. But you know, I don't know, I really like that quote because it did speak to me, you know. So yeah. I try to go on stage every Wednesdays. Tomorrow's Wednesday. I try to go on stage and recite poems and stuff. I think I've done this one before. I'm not too sure. But like I was saying, sorry to get back to it, but some of the common themes are gratitude, motherhood. You know, I think about that often. I do. I can't help it. And I think I have like not like a direct maternal instinct, but I think I do foster that characteristic, and I see that in the way I behave with like my younger cousins, because well, they really are more siblings to me than cousins. But like sometimes I think I can kind of mother them in a weird way and tell them what not to do, you know? Um, so those are the two most common themes. Other than that, you know, I will talk about whatever, like I think poetry, you know, okay, this is also another tangent, but I recently learned the difference between guilt and shame. And my cousin did a great job at describing it to me, because she said shame is when you, I guess you kind of like fart in public and then you are caught for doing that and you feel shame. And then guilt is like you lie to someone, they don't know that you lied, but you feel it on the inside. You know, it's private, public, two different things. And I've noticed, you know, I don't feel shame much. Shame, I think I forego shame. Um, and I don't hold people to a certain standard too. I think, you know, we all will embarrass ourselves one day. We all do something stupid and dumb, and you know, like I mean, I wouldn't fart in public on purpose or anything, but that's not what we're talking. Like, it's just, point is that, you know, poetry, or where I go, is a good outlet for people to be honest and raw about their feelings and discuss certain traumas and stuff. And I was going to make the point that some of my poetry doesn't necessarily have any relation to direct trauma, but there are it's nuanced. There is an influence there, and certainly I don't feel the shame of expressing it. I think wearing your heart on your sleeve is the most brave thing you can do it is so important that you stay honest with who you are, because that will, just being authentic to yourself will attract people who are authentic to themselves, and you want to be around people who are happy with who they are, who love themselves, as you are doing the same or practicing or in that practice, because there are less chances of envy and competition and hurt. You don't want to be around that, of course. So I think it is really important to be honest, be truthful, in a practical sense. You don't have to go balls to the wall, but I think it's good. So I try to be honest with my poems and what I'm feeling, and I've always been this way. I've genuinely, honestly, always been this way, where if I'm expressing through a creative medium, then it is important that I am up to date with what I'm feeling right now, you know? And typically I usually write when I have reached a silver lining about something. I think that needs to change, kind of. I think that if I were to be more expressive about what I'm actually going through, that might be a good way to connect with people and hopefully, like, not necessarily inspire, but just connect with people. I think that's the most important. We try so hard, I think, to be perfect, to be exemplary, that we forget that there is no real pressure. It's not real. That standard isn't real, and you are allowed to be human, and you are allowed to be flawed. And that reminds others as well. We're constantly pushed to be performative and perfect, and that destroys the development of our genuine identity. And that is the one thing that we have, that, be it intangible, that is really truly what we have, that is ours to call your own. So it's very important. Anyway, that's about it for tonight. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, rest of your week, and I will see you later. Bye.